Hello. Hi,
Hello.
Andra.
Hi, Maria. How are you?
How are you today?
Excited to be a part of the presentation and discussion on CRO and SEO.
Yeah, likewise. I'm very excited. I quickly give the guys to like a couple of minutes to join.
Yeah,
So
let's see.
one sec. Let's see. In the chat, if you guys can hear us and see us, can you please comment? It's not the typical view that I typically see. Hang on.
Recording hasn't started, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, all right. People are writing. Yes, they can see us, they can hear us. All right, sounds good. So let me give you a little bit of background. So Andra, who's a good friend of Lubex Digital and mine, so she is the owner, co-founder, the god of of the CRO side. So what I'm telling it, I'll explain in a bit. So she's the co-founder of a CRO agency called OnTrack, and she's running it for many, many years successfully. And the time I was introduced the first to Andra, it was back probably 5-6 years ago, Andra.
Yeah, I think 6 years, yeah. A long
Yeah,
time
we
ago.
were working together on a project called Last Object, which was an amazing project in a sustainability niche that we're producing all of this reusable.
Yeah, reusable single use. It was like replacing single use, yeah.
So product, and then I do remember that during one of our meetings, Andra was presenting about, they have conducted all sorts of, CRO analysis, user behavior analysis, and etc. And then I was hearing your presentation, and I was really impressed, really impressed. Until the day I can remember that presentation that you gave out.
I still have it.
Love it. That's great. So yeah, you guys, I'm happy to get started. Andra, if you want, to tell a couple of, intro words, and then we can just jump into it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to have this first event together, actually, after so many years of being partners and friends. Yeah, so a bit about myself. As Maria was saying, I founded OnTrack Digital 10 years ago. So we've been working with hundreds of businesses worldwide doing conversion rate optimization. That's what we've been doing from the very beginning. In the beginning, for everything under the sun, to be honest, like anything that had a website, we would try to optimize it. After a few years, we specialized on e-commerce businesses and have been fully focused on e-com with the seldom SaaS business here and there because we can't help it, and some of the businesses are fun. But yeah, basically what we do is take it over from where SEO ends, as in bringing the traffic to the website. We help convert it, and I think that's why having this conversation is so good for the entire audience, because we get to see both sides of the story here. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we for a very long time, I was during the webinars, I'm talking how important the page engagement is for the overall SEO success, because SEOs typically are looking at the core SEO stuff, right? For example, the content, the technical side of things, the backlinks, and etc. But sometimes as a ranking factor, we can see page engagement. Very critical, meaning like, all right, someone searched for an SEO agency or a CRO agency, came to a bunch of websites, they clicked at the website, they came into the website, and then what do? Do they bounce back? Do they do kind of an action? Do they scroll? Do they interact, and etc.? So basically, all of that is also an SEO factor apart from being, points for the optimization. So
yeah.
So if you want to start
Yeah.
telling how does that
Exactly. I'll jump straight into it because you were referring to that presentation. What I thought would be interesting and fun today is just to show you a bit on the optimization framework, but more behind how you can understand the page that you're sending traffic to or building for the SEO traffic and how you can optimize it. We'll focus a bit more on something that's accessible to everyone at any point, basically. So you can take the insights here and then just start applying them to the websites you're working on. So I'm going to share my screen, the window here. And it's just a bit of theory, but stop me at any point if it feels like it's too much. And then we can maybe even do some live work on things. So ignore any lack of design skills that I have, but it's the idea of getting it across. So I already introduced myself, but as I was saying, I've been running a CRO agency for 10 years called OnTrack Digital. I've been in CRO for 12 years, so I've seen quite a few websites so far. As Maria was saying, the uncomfortable math, let's say with SEO and CRO, is you're optimizing for the clicks, but nobody's actually optimizing for what happens after. And the success of any SEO or CRO program is in the final conversions, actually. So if you think about the fact that you're bringing in maybe 50,000 sessions per month, but the conversion rate on that page is 1%, you're losing, as you can see, 49,500 people every month, which is not a traffic problem, but it can impact your SEO program negatively. But it's actually a conversion problem. So even though pages are ranking well, if they're not converting, it's still the end client won't be necessarily happy with the program. What you need to understand about CRO is it's not just design opinion, like the button needs to be red or the image needs to be a specific size. It's more related to behavioral science, like understanding the users, understanding their intent, and then addressing that through the content that's on the page. And you guys, the SEO specialists, are the best people that care about this because you know exactly the pages that get traffic and you know the pages that don't convert. So we can do a bit more on this case. As I was saying, very simple to understand. You can bring in 100 sales with a 1% conversion rate. If you want to get to 200 sales, either you do 20,000 users or 2% conversion rate. For SEO, combining these, it's a powerhouse for any client. So,
Andra, sorry to interrupt, but your video has been freezed. So if you want to,
can you see it now?
Your video. So if you want to turn off your, yeah, all good.
Can you see me now?
Yeah.
In the video. Is it freezing because I'm sharing the screen? I wonder. Let's turn it off and then I can get back to it afterwards. Great. So going back to the website here. You can see the slides properly, at least.
Yes, that's
okay, great. Perfect. So why SEO traffic is harder to convert? What I've seen from the CRO perspective, and not necessarily that it's harder to convert, but that it's a bit more tricky in a way, is that it's, as I was saying about the intention of the user, it can be various intents why users get to the website. Like it can be informational, navigational, transactional, all mixed together. The pages are not the ones that you would have on a paid campaign, let's say, that you send them specific to one page. And a page that's optimized for ranking isn't necessarily optimized for converting, as they're two different jobs. And also what I've seen working alongside with SEO agencies is sometimes the H1s were written, I don't think it applies so much anymore, but they were written for crawlers and not for the humans that were making the decisions, basically. So what's important to understand is the true potential of the website is unlocked constantly with new ways to offer a better experience for the user. So you're offering a better experience in terms of the search results, and then when they get to the page, they have a good browsing experience. Any questions so far? All good?
All good. You guys, if you have any questions, you can just drop it under the comment.
At any point.
Yeah, and then we'll come back to it.
And feel free to stop me at any point, because I want this to be just a conversation around CRO, but I also want to make sure you get some insights from this field of marketing, let's say. Okay, so our optimization framework, we're going to focus, as I was saying, on heuristic research today. This is something you can do at any point on any website without any cost or additional tools. But the optimization framework contains a lot more in terms of quantitative analysis, which will help you understand what's working, what's not working. And then there's qualitative research, which will help you understand why it's working or not. Qualitative research includes many tools and techniques, but heuristic research is one of the most valuable one. I think that's very accessible to anyone. So whenever you're trying to understand a website performance, you want to look at the funnel drop-offs. That's the first thing. The funnel is basically the landing page, and then this is an e-commerce example here, but you can replace these steps of the funnel with any steps you have in the website that you're working on. If it's a SaaS, it can be from the landing page to the book a demo form, for example, to the booking confirmation page. If it's anything else like e-com, it's typically collection pages, product page, add to cart, as you can see here. So you want to define the steps of the funnel and then see where users are dropping off. As in, if I have 100 users on the landing page and then I have 20 on the booking page, I need to see what's causing those 80 users to bounce, or not go to the next step. And one great way you can actually do this is easy peasy. You can run site polls. Just what's the biggest question? What information are you looking for? Anything preventing you from purchasing? Like stuff that you can use to understand maybe the intent was something different. Then, their objective is different than what they can find on the page. Very useful, this one. You can also reach out to existing customers through customer surveys. Again, ask them what made them buy, what made them sign up, what doubts or hesitations did they have before buying or signing up. Because this, what it does is actually, it gives you the, like their language, the words they're using, how they describe your services is the best way to actually describe your services to someone else, to the potential audience. I've seen this over and over again, very valuable. And then heuristic analysis, as I was saying. And heuristic analysis is basically just applying conversion principles and understanding to the website or the page, and then defining the reasons why they're converting or not. Nothing that you uncovered through heuristic analysis should be an absolute truth, because it is quite subjective, but it's very useful to outline areas that you want to focus on. It sets the direction for what you want to actually optimize. What I love doing whenever doing heuristic research, and ask me if you have any questions about these 5 layers.
I got a question. Heuristic research, can you just, like, on a top level, tell what do you refer to? What does it mean? What's the goal? What are trying to do here?
So this actually explains it very well. What you're trying to do is you're opening any kind of page that you're trying to optimize, And you want to check it for these 5 principles or layers in heuristic research. And those are relevancy, meaning does the content on the website match search queries and ads, for example. And I can show you an example here. For example, ethically made t-shirts, sustainable fibers. Am I going to see this information when I click into it? Perfect. Ethically made, sustainable fibers. There's relevancy from the ad or search result to the landing page. Then clarity is, do they understand what the website is about? Is it easy for anyone in 5 seconds and or less to understand that you're offering SEO services, for example, or that I'm offering CRO, or that I don't know what website is selling dog food, So we had this example yesterday in a client call. They're doing, they're selling diamond art. It's like paint by numbers, but with diamonds that you glue. And users were saying in the user research that they thought it's a general arts and crafts website, which to them came as such a shock yesterday that they don't want that. They want to be the place for this type of art. And actually, it wasn't clear for users when they were opening the website that it's this type of specific arts and crafts, but they thought it's a generic art supply store.
Yeah, in fact, we have a similar case. So there is a private equity company, meaning a fund that goes and buys businesses, grows them, and sells them. Their business model, right? You enter their website, and then it's written, choosing the right, I'm just writing quote unquote. So choosing the right partner to continue your business used to be hard. Their brand name partners with founders and family owned businesses to accelerate growth. So literally, you enter their website, you have no idea of what they're doing, and you continue having no idea what they're doing by reading it.
Exactly. I have an example here on that, actually. Like, we want to simplify the digital world to make a better tomorrow. What even is that? Like, what are you offering? It's
extreme points. Earlier in the presentation, you were saying that SEO sometimes are making the title tags to keyword match, right? And then this one is like so creative that nobody even can understand.
Exactly, because I think there's what also happens with SEO, and that's why it's so great for the agencies or specialists to actually work together and have a unified strategy. Is SEO focus is, I need pages to rank, like I need these keywords in H1. Although I think that's not how it happens anymore, so strong as it used to be. But anyway, let's say it's single-use items, reusable, whatnot. But actually, if I'm not aware of the brand in any way, and I have an example to show you, that won't really make sense to me, and I'll bounce. So you're getting traffic, you're getting clicks, but then if it's not clear what you're offering, it doesn't help. I mean, I think the purpose of any page is to convert in the end, and if it's not doing that, it's just a wasted effort. So yeah, a very good example, that one. And what I've seen, especially with SaaS businesses, at some point they were just throwing words in the headlines. It wasn't really, you couldn't really understand what they're offering and what you can get. And that brings us to value. Like, how is my life going to be better with your product? And this is the question you ask when you're analyzing for value: is why should users buy my product? Why should users sign up for the free demo? Why should they ask a proposal? Is it clear from the first second? And for example, if we look at your the landing page here, the PR one, you can tell straight away that you earn backlinks from top tier publications. It's, I'm interested in this. Let me see how I can do this. If we look at another example here, it's not going to be the same, So like your notes organized effortless. This was a one that I took a while back, but I love this. That is just, what's my pain problem? Like, I need my notes to be organized. How do I do that? This will help me do it, So It's the reason why I should buy, as in, how is my life better? If you can answer that question, you have a big part of the conversion already figured out. Then there's friction, and friction is another important aspect. I mean, they're all important anyway, but friction I've seen happening quite a lot, as in, are there any obstacles in the conversion path? And what I'm referring to here, it's, if you remember from school, there's the pushing force to the conversions, and then there's friction, which is just taking them away from the funnel, from the flow. And these can be anything like forcing users to create an account before they can place an order. For SaaS, or for example, for your agency or my agency, asking them for phone numbers, personal identification numbers, blood type, there's a lot of information that businesses are asking for that they're not actually using, but that are hurting conversions quite a lot, so the same for e-commerce. It can be unexpected shipping costs at checkout. It can be elements that they can find, like the search bar. Most users will search if they have an intent, but if they can't find the search bar, they're not going to be able to, so they're going to bounce. And then most common one that I've seen over and over and over again is overlapping elements, like live chat buttons over checkout buttons, cookie buttons over cart buttons, and things like this. Make sure that there's no friction in the conversion path. And then the last one is distraction. And with distraction is another aspect that many of us are guilty of, that we do more call to actions on the page. It's like, book a call with Andra, get a free proposal, see our case studies. Like, as soon as we're asking them to decide between different actions, I think it again puts a blocker in the conversion path, because once they land on a page, each page should have one key call to action. This is always something that I see websites doing equally, e-com and SaaS, that they want, when everything is important, nothing is important. It's the same with this one. Yeah. And after that, I mean, this example I think I'll use for life. With distraction is like, what do I even click here? If you have if you have like 10 CTAs on your page, it's never going to work out or be a high converting page. Just keep it simple. Again, going to your example here, send me a free proposal. There's nothing I need to decide on. It's just, I'm interested in this. What do I do? Enter the website, then it takes you to another page. But the initial commitment happens without any stress. So that's.
Then I was wondering for this page as we're talking about it. So the reason that I came up with the earn impossible backlinks is kind of to magnify the impossible, but I'm not sure honestly
if it's confusing.
if it's kind of more negatively sets people's mind on a more negative tone, or more of a, do they understand like what I meant with that?
Yeah. It's one thing I was thinking of, that the impossible backlinks can put them again in having to decide whether impossible as in it's really hard to get, or impossible as in it's not possible, so what am I even doing here? I mean, is this going to set me apart from the competition? Because otherwise it's catchy. I mean, I like the value of this in a way, but it's worth again testing to see impossible backlinks, or switching them again, like your competitors can't replicate these backlinks. It's putting them, it's showing the value straight up with what do I want to do is actually is out pace and out win all of my competitors, basically. So if you can help me do that, then I'm interested in your services.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then also if we're, now that we're on your page, I'm going to just continue with it. I love the case
I
studies.
feel you're going to have a lot of comments on this section.
Yeah. So just going through it, great stuff about it is reviews from a very solid platform. Clutch, we're all trying to get those Clutch reviews, not to mention they're impossible to get, that they're asking for the client's first unborn child to submit a review. So anyway, it's very complicated to get these. And then it's all of the trust factors are good. And then the video, the presentation video that you have puts a face to the business, which again sets it apart from other agencies, which are just jargon talk and nothing else, So this is great. The case study is very good, the same. What I've seen, one thing that I would change, however, is you're going through all of these, but then the results, which are, again, very important. I think most of the users will not see these organic traffic and premium backlinks just because it's not so intuitive that there are tabs here, So they're going to see the domain rating increase, but they're probably going to miss out on organic traffic and premium backlinks. And you can check this with some heat mapping tool. But I think these are important, and I would test maybe putting them a bit higher up, So it's one thing I would try and tweak. Have you been doing any kind of research on your page? Have you been looking at session recordings or any kind of conversion research?
Not really. We kind of, when we advertise, we will start taking a look at it more closely.
Very valuable to do that, because you can do, for example, Microsoft Clarity. It's free. It connects to Google Analytics, and you can get so much information there, like valuable stuff on click maps, session recordings. You can see how users interact with the page, and you can see how far along they scroll. And I can show you an example on our website, actually, which is nothing, to be honest. We get such low traffic on our website that is not really relevant. But if you look at just to see, heat maps and recordings to the last 90 days, whatever, it hasn't really changed. So if I'm going to look at heat maps, for example, on the home page, and you can choose the device here as well. Sometimes you need to change the screenshot so it doesn't have the cookie banner thing, which makes it quite difficult to understand what's going on. Let's see if I can get, yeah. So I have one without the cookies. So the first thing is the tabs here. And this is very easy to set up Microsoft Clarity. It's just a code. You can set it up, and then you have all of this information. So you can see what are users clicking on, for example. You can see the case studies. Are they clicking on them? Not so much, I can see desktop and the same. It shows me what they're interested in, but also it will show you elements that people think are clickable and they're not. For example, when they're clicking here, which I can see, maybe they're interested in seeing the case studies, but those are not connected to that, so it's something for me to look at and say, okay, maybe I need to do something about that. And with the scroll map, I think it's very interesting, especially for SEO, that you can see how much of the page is being scrolled. Like I can see only 30% of users reached this point. And then I can understand that, okay, they're not actually seeing the value in what we're delivering, because if I'm putting all of the interesting stuff like case studies or whatever here, or testimonials, only 20% of users actually see the testimonials, So it tells me that a big part of the content that I'm relying on to convert is actually not going to convert, I mean, they're not going to see it, so it's not going to do anything. So interesting too. So I would recommend this again for anyone trying to understand more on their website or the client's websites, because you also have recordings, for example, so you can see exactly where users are clicking, how much time they're spending on any. So they're going here, they're checking out whatever they're clicking, get a conversion plan. You can see maybe pages don't work. They click get a conversion plan. Is it loading? Seems like it's not. So again, you can see all sorts of interesting things. But let's see if anyone has any questions or anything I can show you here. Again, anything that.
Can you segment by traffic source?
Yeah, you can. So if you go here in filters, and you can also save segments. In the past, you were able to do segments from Google Analytics, which is even better. But for example, if you want to look at traffic source, you can do this here, traffic, and then you have referring site, sources, like I can check out only what's coming from whatever random websites here. I can do medium. So if you have, if I want to only look at organic traffic, I can do that. It also has channels here. And you can filter by a million other things, so you can look at the path, sources. You can also, what's interesting, it has these user actions. So you can filter by rage clicks or dead clicks, for example, meaning they're clicking, but something isn't happening there, or excessive scrolling or quick backs. And you also have smart events, which filters session recordings or heat maps based on whether they clicked request a quote, for example, or outbound click. So you can see sessions that added to cart but didn't check out. And then you can focus on what's happening in those sessions where users are clicking, they're adding to cart, but they're not checking out. So what's going on there,
And then does this auto-populate when you, so you connect this through GTM to the website, right? And then it grabs data, for example, the data from like a request a free quote, and it's such a call to action data. Does it take it from the website straight, or does it take it from the Google Analytics or something like this?
It has smart events, which is setting up automatically. So you don't need to do any setup. And you can also connect the events from Google Analytics, So if you have, for example, some specific events, like custom events that you have set up, you can use them here as well. And you can also look at segments, which I don't have here on my website, but like we're doing segments for test variations, like for A/B tests. I can also look at control versus variation. And I can see the different heat maps. I can see the different session recordings, which again, very useful, for just understanding what you're doing and what's happening there.
So for the A/B test in the CRO world, can you a little bit explain that to some people that might not know?
The A/B testing part, how it works. I'm wondering if I have something here, but the information that I showed you here, like just you see, for example, as we were discussing, Maria, that we want to move, I don't know, this section, we want to move it higher up, but I'm not sure of the impact of moving it higher up. So then I want to A/B test it, meaning I'm going to split all the traffic that's getting, or a specific traffic source. But let's say I want to split all the traffic that's getting to this digital PR page and see how they're converting when I have it here or when I have it here instead of the case studies, for example. And this you can do through various A/B testing tools. There's a wide range of A/B testing tools out there. But the way it works, like the principle behind all of them, and here we're talking about client-side testing, which means the variation loads when the website loads in the browser. So that A/B test is not going to change the website itself, like the live website. It's going to run through a script that's being run when you load the page. And then some users, let's say half of the users will see this section, where was it? Here. And then the other half of users will see it here. And through the A/B testing tool, you'll be able to see how many of them converted on the control, which is the original page, and then how many converted on the variation, which is the tested variation that you have. And this informs what you're going to go with. Am I keeping that section at the bottom or moving it here?
I know that this question, a lot of SEOs might have it. So basically, when you have your control page, say it's this page that you're showing on your screen, and then you create, a variation of this page, and then try to optimize it. I don't know, say I'm testing exactly earn impossible backlinks, or I'm switching the impossible to backlinks that cannot be replicated, and etc. So some SEOs might have a concern that how does this will have an impact on the SEO side of things, right? So how long does the test should be? How the search engines take a look at this, variation change and etc. Do you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, I mean, so and it's a great question, because most of the SEO agencies that work for our clients have this question, like is A/B testing going to impact the ranking and the work they're doing? Typically, we confirm with them any headline test that we're doing. So whenever we're testing H1s, they need to be confirmed with whoever is in charge of SEO. But the tests, the A/B tests, they run for, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks, time in which they're not being indexed, these tests, the variations. But then how it would fit into an SEO strategy in terms of the keywords that you're ranking for, that I think is, you're more able to answer what happens technically there. In terms of the A/B test, is not, we're not changing you're changing the H1 for the variation, basically. So you need to imagine that for 2 weeks, half of the traffic will see a different H1, so it does have an impact. But if you think of the long-term gains from having a headline that converts twice as much, let's say, it's worth doing the test. Not so many A/B tests will be H1 tests, let's say.
Yes, certainly. And then there is another question that one of the participants have. So how do you know this? Fix it directly, or we should do an A/B test method? Meaning, like, how do you decide whether it's like whatever, I gotta test this out, I gotta do it straight and implement it, or this is a little bit more thinking?
Well, it's a good question. First of all, it depends on how much traffic you have to the page, because if you have less than, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 sessions per month on that page, I would say do it directly, implement it, and then in 2 weeks, check back. Compare the performance from the last 2 weeks with the previous 2 weeks. It's not the most scientific way, but in order to do actual A/B testing and to let it run, you need to have a significant sample size, and so sufficient traffic and sufficient conversions to be able to tell the difference. Because if you have 3 conversions on the control and 6 conversions on the variation, even though it's twice as many, it's not relevant necessarily statistically, so it's not a correct A/B test. The way we decide on whether it's a just do it thing, so we implement directly, or A/B test, let's say on a website that can do A/B testing, is if it's something that's hurting conversion directly, like I was saying, overlapping things, or I've seen in 10 tests already that this type of color combined with black is terrible for conversion, so I'm going to just change it to green, You can take some informed risks, I would say. So changing anything on the website should be informed by some kind of research. If it's best practices or what you've seen competitors doing, that's a risk. You need to understand that it can do better just as well as it can do worse. If you have enough traffic, I would recommend A/B testing as much as possible. So, but it comes down to the appetite of risk, I would say.
Yeah. So another question is that, does the tool provide the Microsoft Clarity list of sessions that it finds worth to check? I think it was, it was literally, you showed it when you were filtering down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you want to see?
Yeah, depending on what you find is worth to check, meaning like the sessions that drove some conversions, the pages that people bounced back and etc. Whatever you find, it's worth to check. I think it provided, as far as I could understand, pretty much information about all of that data, right?
Exactly, yes. And let's say I always want to look at sessions that are over 20 or 30 seconds, let's say. If I'm not investigating bouncers directly, I want to see some sessions that are actually engaged, and see what happens there. Let's say I want to see sessions that have more than 2 pages viewed, or that, let's say, for me, what I've seen is very important is, for example, segmenting between new and returning visitors in the session recordings or heat maps. Because what I've seen is we generally take the overall traffic, like all users, let's see the heat map or let's see the conversion rate. But then if we're segmenting by traffic source, I want maybe to optimize the organic traffic, not necessarily the Meta or TikTok ads traffic, which has a conversion rate of 0.5%, and then my organic traffic has 4%, but I can maybe bring it to 6%. But I need to understand the behavior of each users separately, like each traffic source or each
user type segment.
Yeah, user type, exactly. So new users will want to see what the website is about. They will want to see maybe a broad list of services. Returning visitors, they will probably want some more details or want some new arrivals, for example. If it's an e-com business, do bestsellers for new users and do new arrivals for returning users, maybe, so. Yeah.
And then there is another question. Someone is saying, if there is a seasonality, is it good to do the A/B testing during the high season or low season? Which I suppose comes back to the same as, you just need to have some kind of a traffic wherever your risk level, the same.
Yeah, exactly. No, so very good question, and it's something that we're struggling with clients often, because obviously don't test during Black Friday. It's going to be the biggest the spike of traffic, but maybe don't mess with the biggest day of the year. But otherwise, with seasonality and any kind of change in campaigns, you're going to split the traffic equally. So also the control will be impacted by seasonality. Also, the control will be impacted by the new ads you're running. So if let's say you have a TV appearance, and then for the products, and the conversion will go from 2% to 4%, but it's going to do the same for the control, meaning you can see the impact of the variation anyway, because you're going to measure comparing the two. So you're not going to compare previously. That's why I was saying, if you're going to implement a change and then compare to the previous 2 weeks or previous month, you need to have kind of the same composition of traffic. So if you had a big campaign or something that would affect it, that's not going to work. Like, for example, for a client, we have weekly restocks, like they have items that are going out of stock, and then each Saturday they're getting stock again, meaning they're sending out an email to all of the back in stock notify me subscribers, which is like in traffic and then going back, so you want to eliminate outliers, I would say. But otherwise, I would test no matter the season if it's not like a specific huge spike,
I see. So another question, which I think a lot of people might have, is that in SEO, you don't always deal with collection pages for e-com or landing pages for SaaS or service pages for business services, and etc. The right content most of the time you drive traffic through content marketing, which most of the time are informational stage queries, right? Some things that people want. For example, what is digital PR, right? In our case, or digital PR cost a little bit more closer to the funnel, as you already know what people are searching, and they're asking cost most likely because they want to figure out what the service cost. But then, for example, how to write a press release for a digital PR and etc. Those are more informational queries, which you don't exactly know who's behind the
you don't know the intent,
right? Whether it's a marketer just trying to figure it out on its own, how to do a digital PR campaign, or whether it's a client that starts from a little bit far until it comes to the service query. So how do we optimize for conversions, the informational pages, so that you don't kind of sound too, cheesy? You're writing and reading an information, it's just like, click here, request a quote, and it's, which sometimes, in my opinion, makes the user flowy, kind of, let me alone kind of things and information. So how do we combine both, the best of both worlds?
It's always a fine line with that. It's a balancing act for sure. You don't want to be too salesy or pushy. At the same time, it does involve a transaction or some kind of action from the user. What I've seen working best is, trying to do as much as possible to make it flow naturally, but not interrupt the reading flow, for example. So let's say if we're optimizing, you have an article on desktop, that's a lot easier because you can keep users focused on the content and then have a soft call to action, just, by the way, if you're interested in these, check out this offer or this product. Or on desktop, it's easier because you can do some kind of banners or offers or something that doesn't interfere but is always there. On mobile, not so much, because anyway, real estate is very limited. You don't want to interrupt with even more, as we were discussing, about distraction and friction. Now, the purpose of the informational page is to provide the information. Let them have the information. At the same time, you have a user that could turn into a client or a customer. So then you want to offer them the option to do that. What we're doing with a supplement brand that we're working is these types of, let's say, advertorials in a way. So it's like a press launch, but then it's very informative. And in the end, they have a discount to the product only coming from that article. You can use the discount code in the URL, so it applies automatically. They don't need to do any work. That softens the feeling that they're being sold to because they're getting a discount, which helps. But there's no way to really, either you're being hidden in a way, which is not good, or you're just saying, by the way, we have this if you're interested, but you're not going to put it every 2 paragraphs like you have a banner saying, buy my product. It's a bit of a balancing act.
The content at the top of the funnel, giving like top of the not the funnel but the hero section, where I start the content, an intro section about what the topic is going to be about, and a couple of more lines into the articles, and then just like something, for example, Lupax is doing it this way, and so on and so forth, which is a soft kind of something that directs people to the service page, but it's not like too odd to the ear to feel it's a wrong placement. So another question. Someone is saying, should CRO belong to product or marketing teams?
Yeah, good question and good debate actually.
Everyone, right?
They're always just like butting heads between like product and marketing, or also with development and marketing. It's always a conflict there, I would say. Now, CRO as let's say as a segment in trying to have a working profitable business, it needs to be a bridge between them, actually, between the product and marketing. And I've seen because our clients, they stay with us for many years. They start with, I need to optimize whatever the product page, and then, or a new department. Exactly. Kind of, it's a new department. We try to come in as a separate department, but that integrates with the team. But what I've seen is, for example, for the supplement brand that I was giving out as an example, they're thinking about launching new products because CRO did surveys that fed them the information that, okay, people are looking for gummies instead of pills. They want stuff that you put in your water instead of swallowing pills, let's say. They're looking for alternatives to the pill swallowing that they dislike, So, but we find that out in the customer surveys that we're running. Like, how is your life better? What would you change? What would be different? It informs, so it's not so much of a marketing thing as it is a product development thing. And it can apply also with, with SaaS or with any kind of apps, because you're doing the same principles apply. You're getting the voice of customer, and that information should be useful in several departments. Like the same with SEO, like we're working with an agency. For our clients, they're going to want to do a new type of article. We're going to say, this is what we've seen works, So we're supporting their effort as well. So it's a combination. And I think anyway, the name of conversion rate optimization is a bit outdated as well. It's more about the user optimization, like the user experience optimization. And
which can honestly touches, well, I'm always saying that whenever the marketing is so big and the specialties within marketing is so big, but like there's an SEO, there's an email marketer, and etc. And then yes, each specialty has their needs and bits of tips and tricks, something that is unique to that specialty. But what connects all of us is that we're first and foremost marketers, right? We're first marketers. We see we have a unique vision of how to promote brands and products and etc., how to make it sell. So in my opinion, any marketing person, doesn't matter whether he's an email marketer or whether it's SEO or I don't know, PPC and etc., all of us should have that at least like common sense, that common sense of what will work, what will not. Yes, there is some, very specific cases. For example, if you want to do a customer survey or you want to do an A/B test on a certain thing, or you're driving lots of traffic to the page, and then you kind of need to take more data-driven approach of how, testing and etc. Yes, that requires more, specialized approach. But when, for example, you develop a page for an SEO and etc., you as a specialist as well, a marketer first and foremost, you should consider all the user experience. Not tell that this is best, content and whatever. I don't care what comes after it, or how people feel and look.
That's how I got into CRO. I was doing media buying, so I was doing direct response marketing and PPC campaigns, but like with publications. Anyway, I was driving tons of traffic to the business I was working for back then, and I would actually be paid a commission out of the sales, but then I was driving so much traffic, but then I couldn't manage the website itself, like what was happening on the website. And I kept thinking and insisting that there has to be a way to get the traffic to convert more, like I can send 1 million users and then 1,000 buy. There's something off. And that's how I got into CRO, because I was trying to understand how I can earn more. Obviously, I was just starting out. It was so once you understand that it needs to be a cohesive and coherent strategy that SEO, PPC, all of us do there. It's not just my work without the SEO or PPC work would be nothing. Just so
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I think it's so interesting to actually share insights and tips and tricks and combine the knowledge.
Amazing. And then the last question is that, well, we learned about Microsoft Clarity, and thank you for
Yeah,
that. There are a
of
bunch of
course.
other like Hotjar and
Mm-hmm.
etc. But so for SEOs, for example, for an agency like ourselves, or freelance specialists and etc.
Yeah.
How do you conduct an A/B test? Is there non too deep technical tools like whatever you're using,
Yeah.
but like easy way to test it out all by yourself?
Yeah. Again, there are a ton of tools. For Shopify specifically, just do a search on the App Store. There are so many tools that offer free A/B testing up to a specific number of users tested, which they're great. Most of them now they have visual editors, so you can just go in without any kind of technical skills. If you're only changing text or images, or let's say for SEO, you want to test some H1s, some images, some placement like sections, you can move them, drag and drop very easily, and I'd be more than happy to share a list afterwards. Those are easy to run. Before, we used to have Google Optimize, which I hear is coming back. So it's actually going to be available again, from what I've been reading. Let's hope it's not just fake news. But Google Optimize used to be amazing. First of all, free. We all love that, especially for smaller businesses where you can't justify like $400 a month for a testing tool. But there are all sorts of, like, for example, GrowthBook is one of the ones that are open source. Also, you can do, if you're more technical, you can do A/B testing through Firebase and Google Analytics. And maybe I'll put together some kind of a guide on how to do that. But now with with Claude, you can already do so much, if you're into that. But I would say any tool, depending on the platform that the website is on, just a quick search will show you some examples. Most of them, they do the same thing. Once you get into complex A/B testing, then it's good to get a very solid tool like Convert or Intelligence or VW, or the big players in the industry, let's say. But for more simple tests, and I was saying, I can share a list with you that you can share with the audience afterwards for e-com and for
Would be
SaaS.
great. Yeah, follow up with people that are
Yeah.
listening to us. So I think that's that. Most likely, we have answered the majority of the questions that came through, and I think we're already running out of time. So first of all, Andra, thank you very much for joining me in the webinar. Very, very useful. I learned quite a lot.
Well, my pleasure, and thank you.
On our pages. That's really good information. And yeah, later on, guys, probably about 1 month from now, we will have the webinar live on our YouTube channel. And then, yeah, we will send you a follow-up on Telegram. Or Lilith, can you guide me on the steps of what... yeah, probably we will follow up on Telegram channel that we have with all the tools that Andra will recommend. So yeah, I suppose that's that. Thank you so much for joining. We had quite a lot of
Thank you
people.
for having me.
People that joined. So pretty much.
Thank you for spending the time and hearing me out on CRO here. Anyway, more than happy to do this again. So yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Andra. Have a good one, and then
You too.
we'll see each other, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.